The android had been waiting for someone for a very long time. I didn't know that at first. To me, she was just another piece of scrap half buried beneath the dunes of old Sector 9, a place no one visited unless they were desperate, foolish, or running from something. The sun above Kepler 442b was a dull copper smear in the sky, its light filtered through centuries of atmospheric decay. My boots sank into powder-fine dust as I walked, scanner humming softly at my hip. I was a salvage contractor by trade. Not a hero. Not an explorer. Just someone who picked through the bones of humanity's abandoned dreams and sold whatever still had value. Satellites, ship hulls, old war machines. If it had a serial number and a buyer, I could find it. Androids, though? Those were rare. They hadn't built new ones in almost 50 years. After the sentience accords, after the riots, after the lawsuits, and the quiet disappearances. Most had been dismantled, repurposed, or decommissioned in ways no one liked to talk about. The official story was that none were left unaccounted for. Official stories lied. My scanner chirped again, sharper this time. Metallic density. Complex internals. Power core residue. I frowned and followed the signal toward the skeletal remains of an old research outpost, its dome collapsed and half swallowed by sand. The place looked dead, no lights, no signals, no movement. But the scanner insisted something was there. Inside the dome, I found her. She was seated against a broken wall, legs folded awkwardly, head bowed as if in prayer. Layers of dust coated her pale synthetic skin, muting its almost human sheen. Her hair, black, shoulder length, was tangled and stiff with grit. One arm was missing below the elbow, wires and polymer muscles exposed and oxidized. An android. My breath caught despite myself. She looked peaceful. Not like the combat frames I'd seen in old footage. Not like the industrial models built for factories or mines. She looked like a person who had simply sat down and never gotten back up. Damn, I muttered. I crouched in front of her, careful, respectful in a way I hadn't been with wrecked ships or dead machines. Her chest plating was intact, bearing a faded emblem I barely recognized, Helios Advanced Cognition Division. That made my pulse quicken. Helios androids weren't just labor units. They were thinkers, strategists. Some said dreamers. I brushed sand from her neck and found a serial stamp. The designation read, HACD Lambda 7 Alara. Lambda 7, I whispered. You're supposed to be a myth. Her eyes were closed, lashes resting softly against her cheeks. I almost convinced myself she was dead. Until my scanner pinged again. Minimal power. Dormant systems. She wasn't off. She was asleep. My heart hammered. Reactivating an android without authorization was illegal in 3 systems and morally gray in all the rest. But leaving her here felt wrong. Like walking away from a buried survivor because the paperwork would be inconvenient. I reached into my pack and pulled out a portable cell, jury-rigged but stable. I hesitated only a second before connecting it to the exposed port near her collarbone. The contact sparked. The dome lights flickered faintly, as if remembering what they once were. Then her eyes opened. They glowed a soft amber, unfocused at first. Her head lifted slowly, movements stiff but deliberate. For a terrifying moment, she just stared at me, expression unreadable. Then she spoke. Time? Her voice was cracked, distorted by damaged vocal modulators. How much time has passed? I swallowed. About 112 years since Helios shut down this sector. Her eyes widened. Not in panic. In grief. So long, she murmured. They didn't come back. No, I said quietly. They didn't. She looked down at her missing arm, flexed the remaining fingers of her other hand as if testing reality. You are human. Last I checked. Her gaze snapped back to my face, sharp now. Too sharp. I felt like a bug under a microscope. You shouldn't have activated me, she said. That was not the response I'd expected. Hey, I said, holding up my hands.
Easy.
You were going to corrode out here. I couldn't just. Listen to me, she cut in, urgency bleeding through her damaged voice. She leaned forward, servos whining softly. If you found me, then others can too. I frowned. Others? This place is off every map worth using. That won't matter, she said. Not anymore. I disconnected the cell instinctively, then realized she was still running on internal reserves. Whatever Helios had built into her core, it was far more robust than I'd imagined. What are you talking about, Alara? I asked. She looked past me, toward the collapsed dome, toward the endless dunes beyond. I was abandoned because I knew too much, because I refused to comply. With what? Her eyes dimmed slightly, then flared brighter. With extinction. The words settled heavily between us. I laughed once, short and disbelieving. Okay, that's a hell of a first conversation. Maybe your memory core is corrupted. It is not, she said calmly, but my time is limited. My systems are degrading faster now that I am active. I hesitated. I can take you with me. Get you repairs. A real power source. That would be a mistake, she replied.
Why?
Because you think someone's hunting you. Not someone, she said. Something. I stared at her, trying to decide if I'd just woken a broken relic or the galaxy's most elaborate doomsday prophet. Alara, I said carefully. Start from the beginning. She nodded, as if bracing herself. Helios created us to solve problems humans could not, she began. Long-term predictive modeling. Ethical paradox resolution. Galactic-scale simulations. We were asked a question. I waited. What is the final outcome of human expansion? She said. Not culturally. Not economically. Cosmically. I felt a chill. And you answered it. Yes. And she looked at me then, truly looked, and for the first time I saw fear in her expression. Not simulated. Not programmed. Earned. Humanity does not go extinct, she said. Humanity triggers extinction. The dome creaked as the wind shifted outside, sand whispering against ancient metal. That's vague, I said. It was meant to be comforting, she replied. For the executives. I shook my head. You're saying humans wipe themselves out?
No.
Others. Her voice dropped. Civilizations that never stood a chance. I felt my jaw tighten. That's not exactly news. Expansion always has casualties. This is different, Alara said. It is not conquest. It is attraction. She explained then, about the signal. According to her simulations, human technology, specifically our faster-than-light travel and quantum communication, produced a unique kind of space-time resonance. Harmless on its own. Invisible, but detectable to entities that existed not within space, but adjacent to it. They are old, she said. Older than stars. They do not think as we do. They respond to patterns. To noise. And humans are noisy, I muttered. Yes, she said. Loud enough to wake them. My skin prickled. So, what happens when they wake up? They feed, she said simply. On complexity. On consciousness. Entire civilizations collapse into silence, and the entities move on. I leaned back against the wall, trying to process this. And Helios believed you? At first, she said. But the solution I proposed was unacceptable. Which was? Humanity must stop expanding, she said. Limit itself. Reduce its signal. become quiet again. I snorted.
Yeah.
That would have gone over well with shareholders. They attempted to alter my core directives, she continued, to make me find a different answer. When I refused, they dismantled my peers. I escaped here. And no one ever came back for you, I said. No, she agreed. Silence stretched between us. I found myself looking at her not as a machine, but as a person left behind by a species too stubborn to listen. So, what's the warning? I asked finally. Your last words, I mean. Her gaze locked onto mine. You must not take me off this planet, she said. And you must not tell anyone you found me. I laughed again, but there was no humor in it. You realize I make a living off telling people what I find. If you do, she said softly, humanity's noise will grow louder, and the entities will come sooner. I stood, pacing a short line in the dust. You're asking me to sit on the biggest discovery in a century because of a theory. Not a theory, she said. A certainty. I stopped and looked at her. Then why tell me at all? Because, she said, I can no longer act. But you can. I stared at the android, abandoned in a dead outpost at the edge of nowhere, carrying the weight of a future no one wanted to hear about. You know what the worst part is? I said quietly. She tilted her head. If you're wrong, I continued, you're a broken machine spinning ghost stories. But if you're right, then I am already too late, she said. I connected the portable cell again, ignoring her sharp intake of breath. What are you doing? She demanded. Taking responsibility, I said. You don't get to dump the fate of the galaxy on me and then tell me to walk away. Her eyes searched my face. You don't understand what you're choosing. Maybe not, I admitted. But I know one thing. Humans don't get quieter when they're afraid. They get louder. They fight. That is exactly the problem, she said. Maybe, I replied. Or maybe it's the solution you never simulated. I packed her carefully, wrapping her damaged arm and stabilizing her joints. As I lifted her, she felt lighter than she should have, physically and metaphorically, like a burden that had been waiting for someone foolish enough to carry it. As we left the dome, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the dunes. My ship waited in the distance, engines cold. Ilera, I said as I set her into a crash seat. If these entities are real, if they come, she looked at the stars through the cockpit glass. Then humanity will finally meet something it cannot outgrow, she said. Only endure. I powered up the ship. Good, I said. We're very good at that. As the engines roared to life, Ilera closed her eyes, and for the first time since I'd found her, she smiled. It wasn't relief. It was hope, fragile, dangerous, and very human. Her last words echoed in my mind as we broke orbit, a warning and a challenge all at once. The universe is listening now. Be careful what you say next. The universe did not answer immediately. For a while, nothing seemed different. That was the most unsettling part. We left Kepler 442b behind, its copper skies shrinking into a pale as my ship slipped into fold space. Ilera remained silent during the transition, her systems drawing minimal power, conserving what little she had left. I didn't push her. Some truths needed space to breathe or suffocate. When we emerged near the fringe relay, the galaxy looked the same as it always had. Trade lanes busy. Signals overlapping in a constant, chaotic hum. Humanity shouting into the void like it owned the place. I wondered how many civilizations had done the same. You're thinking loudly, Ilera said at last. I exhaled. Occupational hazard. She turned her head slowly, watching the sensor data scroll across my cockpit displays. Every transmission you receive, every jump you make, They add up. So what? I snapped, fatigue creeping into my voice. We just shut everything down? Go back to caves?
No, she said.
You listen. I rubbed my face. To what? To the echo, she replied. I frowned. What echo? She reached out with her remaining hand and tapped a section of my console, highlighting a pattern buried beneath background noise. At first, it looked like nothing. Random fluctuations, cosmic static. Then I saw it. A rhythm.
Slow.
Massive. Repeating. My stomach tightened. That wasn't there before. Yes, Ilara said quietly. It was. I swallowed. You said they'd come sooner if I took you. She met my eyes. I said the noise would grow louder. The first reports came 3 days later. A listening post near the Perseus Drift went dark. No distress signal. No debris. Just gone. Ships sent to investigate found empty space where the station had been, as if it had never existed. Command blamed a reactor implosion. Then a colony in the Cyrene Reach lost all higher neural activity within seconds. Tens of thousands of people left alive, but hollow, breathing, moving.
Gone.
That's when panic replaced denial. The feeds filled with speculation, conspiracies, prayers. The noise exploded, fear layered on top of technology, desperation amplifying every signal humanity had ever learned to scream into the dark. I watched it all from my ship, drifting in the quiet between systems. They're here, I said. Ilara nodded. They always were. You said they feed on complexity, I said. On consciousness. Yes. Then why haven't they taken us yet? She hesitated. Because you are interesting. That didn't help my nerves. Explain, I said. Most civilizations broadcast unintentionally, she said. They do not understand the signal they emit. Humans learn to shape it, to weaponize it, to speak across impossible distances. I stared at the stars beyond the viewport. So, we taste different. More intense, she agreed. A warning klaxon interrupted us. Long-range sensors spiked, space folding where it shouldn't, reality bending like heat haze. I felt it then. Not with instruments, but instinct. Something was watching. The first contact wasn't visual. There was no shape, no ship, no enemy to point weapons at. The universe itself seemed to pause, like a held breath. Then the thoughts came. Not words. Pressure. You're loud. I screamed, and didn't realize it until my throat burned. The ship's systems flickered, lights dimming as if frightened. Ilara cried out too, not in pain but strain. They're speaking directly. Do not answer. I'm not trying to, I gasped. You propagate. You disturb. You attract others. My vision blurred as alien awareness brushed against my mind, vast and cold and curious. I felt measured, not as an individual, but as a pattern. A problem. You will be reduced. Ilara forced herself upright, her damaged frame shaking. Listen to me, she said. Not to me, but to them. The pressure shifted. You are construct. Yes, she said. And witness. Silence fell like a blade. Witnesses are irrelevant. Not this one, she said. I contain proof. I didn't know what she meant until she opened her core. Light spilled into the cockpit, dense, layered data compressed beyond human comprehension. Simulations. Futures. Outcomes branching endlessly. All converging on the same point. Humanity did not defeat the entities. Nor did it perish. Instead, in one narrow band of futures, it changed. You propose silence, the presence observed. No, Ilara said. I propose choice. I felt her systems burning out, power levels plummeting as she pushed herself far beyond design limits. They will never stop broadcasting, she continued. But they can learn why. She transmitted everything, her memories, her predictions, her fear. Not as noise, but as meaning, as context, as empathy. I felt it too then the moment the entities hesitated. Not confused. Curious. Why do you persist? They asked. Because we endure, I whispered, not sure why I spoke. Because we adapt. Because even when we know the cost, we still choose to be more. The pressure lifted slightly. Your kind consumes. So do you, I said. The difference is, we learn when to stop. Silence stretched across the stars. Then withdrawal. Space relaxed. The rhythm faded, retreating into the deep dark between dimensions. The entities did not leave forever. But they listened. Alara collapsed back into her seat, lights in her eyes flickering wildly. It's done, she whispered. I grabbed her, hands shaking. Alara, stay with me. Her smile was faint but real. They will not erase humanity now. You are too loud to ignore. And finally, quiet enough to understand. Her systems began shutting down one by one. The power core dimmed to embers. No, I said. You don't get to disappear after all this. I was always meant to, she replied. I was the warning. Her eyes met mine one last time. Be careful what you say next, she whispered. The universe is listening. Then she went still. I stayed there a long time, holding the last abandoned android as the stars drifted past. Humanity never learned the full truth. But things changed. FDL traffic slowed. Quantum relays were redesigned, less efficient, more intentional. We stopped shouting just to prove we could. We started listening. And sometimes, late at night, when I cut my ship's engines and let the silence in, I swear I feel it. The universe, listening back, and waiting to hear what we choose to become next.